Okay, let's get started. This beauty, this beauty. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. What we need white yarn, obviously, and it's just a small amount of yarn, so scrap yarn will do. I am using the Caron Simply Soft in white, and then I'm also using the Caron Simply Soft, and this is a brown. It's a taupe with specks in it. But in this one, um, on the side, I used a gray, a Simply Soft in gray. So any color that you determine will make it look like a shadow of the toilet paper roll is perfect, okay? So don't stress over the color as long as it's, it can be a black, a brown, it can even be a gray, any color you want, okay? And then, of course, this 2020, I'm not that good at doing the stitches, but whatever you want to do your stitches for 2020, if that's what you choose to put on there, then, you can use whatever color you like as well. You can even make this look Christmassy if you want. You can do red or green and red or green and make it look Christmassy. The colors are up to you. And obviously, I'm using white because that's the standard color for toilet paper. So, but as far as everything else, use your imagination. Okay, the other thing we will need, of course, scissors, and I'll put those right here. Now we are going to work in the round for the sides. So if you feel like you need a stitch marker, then go right ahead and use one. I do not need one. You will need a needle to, sew up those ends, and I'll set that aside for right now. And the hook that we're going to use is a G hook, and this is my clover hook. I love clover hooks, so I frequently share that, but this is a G hook. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to pull out a little bit of this brown so that I don't have to keep pulling it out. What we are going to do, we just need a tiny bit, okay? So we are going to make a magic circle, and if you don't know how to make a magic circle, you can watch me. It's really very easy, and then once we get the circle going, of course, every time I do a magic circle on camera, I make it look not easy. I don't know why. So we're going to do a magic circle, and I'm going to bring that up, and then I'm going to do a chain. Okay, so this is my magic circle. And in this magic circle, I am going to do 6 single crochets. Okay, 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and then I'm going to pull this not too tight, not at first, because I want this to circle around. And I don't want to make it too tight, because then if you make it too tight, sometimes it's hard to find that first stitch. It really tightens everything up. So we're going to pull that a little bit. We're going to pull this a little bit. And then I always go backwards from my hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that I make sure that I get into that first stitch. Okay? Yeah. So there we go. And I am going to pull it through and pull it through and link that together. Okay, and then I'm going to pull the center. So here we have the center, and there we go. Now, what we're going to do, this is the end of the middle. We're not going to do any more than 1 round with this middle, okay? So we can either fasten off, or what I did before was let's see, this is actually what I did before. When I connected, you can either fasten off and then start afresh with the white on the next row, but this is actually what I did. I inserted the hook into here, and then I took the white and pulled it through and pulled it through. And so that connected the brown row, and then the white was already ready. Did you get that? Okay. And so then I'm going to pull a little bit on the middle, pull a little bit on this too. And I'm going to just continue with the white. I'm going to chain one, and then in that same stitch where I just went in, I'm going to put 2 single crochets. 1, and take your time, 2. Okay, and then I'm going to go all the way around and put 2 single crochets in every single crochet stitch. Notice I didn't do anything with the brown yet. So when you get done, you should have 12 single crochets in the white on this round 2, because we started out with 6 and now we are doubling it. And I am going over the short tail of the white. Give it a little pull. There we go. And let's see, that one was just 1. So I need 1 more in that. And let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We need 1 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. 10. That's what I thought. I miscounted. So I have 1 more stitch here, and I am going to go into that stitch with 1, and I'm going to do something here. Because we connected this one, I am going to do 1 in this one, and then in this stitch right here, I'm going to do on the second one, not in that same stitch, so that I pull that together. Okay, and then I'm going to go into this next stitch, and there we go, and I am going to connect it, and that's round 2. Okay, and so now what I'm going to do is pull this up a little bit, pull this loop up a little bit. I'm going to cut the brown yarn, and I'm going to do just a little knot once and twice, because this is going to be on the inside. Now on this one, I actually left these and I used it as stuffing, but I noticed that there were a couple parts, like right here and right here a little bit, where that brown came through, and that kind of bugged me a little bit. So I'm not going to do that this time. I am going to actually, I did 2 nice tight knots. This is going to be on the inside, so I'm not worried about it coming loose. I'm going to cut it so that I am not getting a whole bunch of brown in the middle where my stuffing is. Okay? All right. So we are going to do 1 more round. Okay? We're going to do 1 more round, and this one we are going to, now we've connected it, so we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 2 single crochets which is called an increase, increase single crochet, and then 1 single crochet, an increase single crochet, which is 2 in the next stitch, and then a single crochet, an increase, and a single crochet. Okay, an increase, and a single, an increase, and a single, an increase, and a single. Okay, there we go. Now I believe that this is going to be the first stitch that we made, but I didn't use a stitch marker, so I'm going to count backwards, okay, just like I usually do. And this is not a bad practice, and it helps you get very familiar with your crochet stitches. Now it's a little hard to see with white, so I do apologize, but I'm going to count, and just trust me that I am counting correctly. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and this one is 18. So, okay. So I'm going to connect to that. And then I am going to fasten off. And we're done with this side. So what I want you to do is go ahead and make 2 of these. They're very quick and very easy. Very quick and very easy. Go ahead and sew in your ends, and I'll show you how I'm going to sew in this end. Okay, now I always go in the direction that I was crocheting. So I was crocheting this way, so I'm going to go in that direction. Okay, and the general rule is back and forth 3 times and you're locked in. For something like this, you do want to make sure that it gets locked in, but I'm not super worried about it because, you know, it's so small, and so I'm just going to go back and forth. I did go back and forth 3 times, but I wasn't super meticulous with how I went back and forth. And then this one I am going to keep in here because we can use that as extra stuffing. Okay, so make a second one of these, and then once you get the second one done, then I'll meet you back and we'll go through how to do the toilet paper. Okay, all right, meet you right back here. Okay, now we're ready for the next step. We have our 2 ends already completed, and they will go like that. And we'll just set those there. This next part is super easy. We are going to do a slip knot, we are going to chain 8 and make them nice and loose. Don't make them over tight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, And then what we're going to do is skip the first stitch. And remember, we don't count what's on our hook. We skip this first stitch and we go into the next stitch and we do a single crochet. And we do a single crochet all the way down the row, and you will have a total of 7 single crochets. There we go. Okay, and that's it. And now what we're going to do is chain 1 and turn our work. We are going to not count the loop that's on our hook. We're not going to count that chain, but we are going to go into the very first stitch, which was the last single crochet, and we are going to do a single crochet all the way across. Here's stitch number 6 and stitch number 7. And I like to count them because since this is such a short row, there is no reason for me not to count. And when you get to that very last stitch, make sure that you get both of the sections, the back loop and the front loop of that V of that stitch. Okay, so that is stitch number 7. And here we go. Now we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to do the same thing for, I believe, 22 rows. Now let me do a quick count. I just counted it, and you know, my brain. Okay, so we have the chain, then we have 2, 4, let me see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32. It was 32. I'm so glad I counted that. You would have just had this little tiny roll of toilet paper. 32 rows of single crochet, 7 stitches across, chain 1, turn your work, 7 stitches across, chain 1, turn your work until you have 32 rows. Okay? And once you get to 32 rows, come on back and I'll show you how to put this together. All right, let's get to work. It won't take long, I promise. So I chained 1. I'm going to go into this first stitch and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'm going to make sure that I get both loops on that last stitch. 7, chain 1, and turn my work. And I'm going to do this for 32 rows. Now here's the trick. What if you do 31 rows? It's not going to be a big deal because that just means that you pulled off a little bit more toilet paper than the rest of us. What if you do 35 rows? It's not going to matter. It is not going to matter. What if you want a really long, you could even do 50 and just make it so long, and you could put a big 2 and a 0 and a big 2 and a 0 and really show off that 2020 spirit. Oh my goodness, you know what? I think I might do that with this next one because I am so not good at making little numbers. Look at this. This is pathetic. I know you can do better than me. I know you can. I have faith in you. I think for this next one, I am going to make it nice and long, almost like a Santa's list, but this is just the 2020, poop show list. Oh, anyway, I think that's what I'm going to do. We'll see. We'll see. I will meet you back when I get my rows done. You do your rows however long you want, and I'm going to do my rows however long I want, and then I'll show you how we will put this together. Okay? I'll be right back. Okay, let's finish this up. I made my roll of toilet paper just a little bit longer than last time. It's about 36 rows. I'm not stressing over how many rows. I just kind of kept going until I got it to where I thought, yep, I want to try that one. Okay, so what we're going to do, we are going to keep this connected. I just finished one row. We're going to keep this connected. We are going to crochet our end piece directly onto the side of the toilet paper roll. So what we want to do is keep this connected. We want to find a stitch on the side of this side of the roll, and we're going to insert our hook. Okay, now we want to have the outside facing us, and so then this will be the inside of the roll, and we are going to crochet this together to make this nice little ridge, which will help hold the shape of the toilet paper roll. Okay, so we insert it into that. We're going to keep this towards us, and I am going to just go in here and find a space right there, and I am going to slip stitch that in. Okay, and that's just for the first stitch. The rest of it will be single crocheted. Okay, so then I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch on this circle. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to find the next row, and I'm going to insert the hook into the end of the row, and I'm going to pull it up and do a single crochet. Insert the hook, and then I'm going to find, I think I'm going to go in here, because what I want to do is make sure that each little stitch is on one row. Now, if you happen to get confused about where the row is, don't worry about it. As long as you're not stretching it or bunching it up, and you will find out pretty quick, because your work will start telling you, hey, this is not working. You're just going to want to line it up as it goes around, but you want to make sure that you go into every stitch on the circle, and then just as we line it up, it's going to tell you where your hook should go. Okay, I don't know if you're following me, but this is what I'm doing, and this is just curving as I go through. And see, then I'm just going to insert my hook right there. I'm not going to over stress about it. I'm just going to do my best. Yep, I think I'm going to put it right in here. Right here. Okay, that works. Now, the reason that I want to try my best to keep it straight is because I don't want to overstretch these rows, and when I sew or when I crochet on the other side, I want to make sure that, it's somewhat even, that I can mimic that on the other side as well. So you know how you're doing this, you know how you're spacing it, and just make sure that you space it about the same way on the next side as well. Okay? All right. So I'm going to keep showing you until I finish this circle. And you're going to notice as you do this, it's going to want to curl in and act kind of weird a little bit, and that's okay because we're going to get the stuffing in there and we're going to pop all that out, and it's going to look good once we get it all nice and stuffed. Okay, so here's the next stitch right here. Okay, and when you get to that spot where you finished off in that round, it's going to feel a little weird as well, but you know what? We got this. And I think that's where I'm at right now because it's not wanting to go in properly. There we go. There we go. Okay, we're just going to keep going around until we get all of these stitches connected. And you know, it's a little bit fidgety only because it's small, but it's not bad. It's not bad really at all. It could be worse. There we go. We're almost done with this circle. Oop, I'm sorry if I keep going down with this. I tend to bring my work right up to my face if it's something that is, you know, a little fidgety. There we go. And let's see, I've got 2 more right here. 1. And 2. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is pull this out, and I am going to connect this to this first stitch like that. Okay, all right, and I'm actually going to finish off. And I'm going to pull it tight, and I'm going to weave in my end. And you know how to do that, so that's what I'm going to have you do. Weave in your end. See, we're going to push that out a little bit, and it's going to be just fine. So on this side, you're going to do the exact same thing. Make sure that you are crocheting from the outside in like this, okay? So if you want to, you can start here and go in this side and then go into a stitch, but make sure that you go into every stitch around here, and make sure that you know, you make a complete circle. We're going to leave this part open, and this is where we're going to stuff, okay? So once we get this other side put on, we're going to have this side open, we're going to stuff it, and then we're going to sew it down, and then we're going to do our magic, whatever you want to do with it, with this, okay, with the extra roll. So go ahead and follow the instructions for attaching and do this second side, and I'll meet you back. Okay guys, I have that done. I have gone all the way around, and now you see this is where I started because I had to use a new piece of yarn. So we're just where it meets, okay? And what I have done, I have gone through, and here is where the other side met, is right here at this line, right here. And so I've made sure that I stopped also at this line right here so that I have the same row starting and stopping on both sides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this to this with a slip stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to tie it off. There we go. I'm going to tie it off, and I am actually going to do a little bit of a knot right there, just one, and then I'm going to take my my needle, and I'm going to thread these ends in just a little bit, and then I'm going to stuff them inside to use them as additional stuffing. So now what I'm going to do is bring this into the inside here. I'm going to like pull it in. Now these stitches are kind of tight, so I'm just going to work it in somehow, and be patient if you don't get it in right away. It's all good. Okay, I'm going to pull that down so that that part is down pretty tight. And I'm going to go in a couple more stitches. This needle might be too big for this piece of work, but I think I can get it to go through a couple more. There we go. There we go. And that's all I'm going to do with that one. And now I have this one to do. And I'm basically going to do the same thing and pull it to the inside. There you go. Okay. And then I'm going to pull this also to the inside nice and tight. Let's see how I can do that. Let's do this. Give it a tug, nice and tight. There we go. Maybe I'll try and go the other way. There we go. Okay. And let's go the other way. Okay, that's good enough. Alrighty, so we have some yarn here for stuffing, and I'm gonna go ahead and stick my fingers in here and I'm gonna push this out. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna get some stuffing, little bits, just gonna get little bits and pull them off, and I'm gonna stuff them in there a little bit at a time until it's nice and plump. I've noticed that it seems like the plumper this little guy is, the happier he looks. And here's the thing, once you get this all nice and stuffed and you get it sewn down, then that's when you can play with the sides and work them to where they look the way you want them to look. Okay, so I'm going to give this a nice big stuffing. Okay, now when I made this at my mother-in-law's last Wednesday on a whim, this is how I created this. Was last Wednesday. I was sitting in her living room, and we were watching Christmas movies on Hallmark, and I just got this idea in my head, and I thought I have to try it. That's why this one has a little bit of gray right here, because that's all I had on me. I did have the white, but I forgot to bring stuffing. So I searched down in the bottom of my bag, and I had about this much. of stuffing. So in this one, it's mostly stuffing and yarn. I cut my white yarn and I just stuffed it with that. So I may have overstuffed this one. Let me see. Let me squish it a little bit. This is one of those jumbo rolls. A jumbo roll. Okay. Alrighty, so this is where it connected. So this is actually where I need to bring it in. So I may have overstuffed it. I'm going to pull a little bit out. There we go. Because when I connect this to this, I want to do it along that seam that is where I ended. So I'm going to have to bring that in a little bit. And yeah, that works out really good. I like the way that looks. Okay, so let me move this extra stuffing out of the way and I'll show you how I connected that seam. I just cut some white yarn and I threaded it up onto my needle. Okay. And I know that I want to go along this seam. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go right here and I'm going to go through, and it's on the inside. It's on the inside. I'm going to tie a knot. And I'm going to do one more knot. There we go. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and this edge right along here, and I'm going to stitch it up. I'm going to go along this seam right here. So I'm going to go into the next stitch and I am going to just match it up stitch by stitch. I'm going to go into the next stitch here and I'm going to do my best to go into the next stitch. Let me make sure I go on that row. There you go. And then go in this one. And then go down. Whoops, I'm so sorry. And then go down into this one. Sorry guys. I was working my stitches and I forgot about you. Okay, I'm just going to go up. And see, I want to go into that row right there. I want to make sure that I stay on that seam right there. Okay? Okay, and give it a nice pull because that's just going to tug it all together. Now I'm going to go right in here and go into this next stitch right here. Give it a nice pull. Go into this one and kind of match it up. I want to make sure that I go into, let's see, that seam right there. Into this one. Okay. And then you're just gonna like squish it around, make it work. Okay, so now I'm going to finish off, and I'm going to just go in and out right here. I know this is not pretty at all. It's kind of, it looks struggly, and it's just because my needle is not, oh, it's not sharp enough, and my hands are not letting me. I'm having trouble with my hands this week, and the pain is sometimes a little much. So I'm just gonna, I just kind of went over and just did big loops across here, and then I went over here just to kind of tack this down on this side as well. I just like making sure that this part is tacked a little bit. There we go. See how that looks better with it tacked down? Because then it doesn't look like it's going to, you know, like it's not attached properly or whatever. So now what I'm going to do is just weave in and out a couple times just to get this tightened. Now I make the stitches on the inside wide, but on the outside short. So even though you see it looks like it's wide, it's really close to where I came out. So those stitches aren't going to be seen from the outside, okay? And I could weave in and out, but I really kind of don't want to risk seeing it and see this is going to show. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to, I've gone in and out a couple times here. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to go through, and I'm going to poke it out this side, and I'm not going to pull it tight because I don't want to make it misshapen. And then I'm going to go into the next stitch and poke it through again, and not tight so that it doesn't get misshapen. But this will help lock it in. It's going to lock into those fibers, and it's not going to come out. Okay. All right. Oops, see, I pulled that one a little too tight, so I need to pull this one back. I kind of got a little overzealous. There we go. Okay, so for this one, now I am going to just kind of squish this down a little bit and give it a little cut, and then it'll pop right back in there. There you go. So that's done. I'm going to weave in this end, and now, if you're brave and you want to write 2020 on it, and, you know, I mean, look at mine, okay? You know, yours is going to look much better than mine. It really will, because I don't know what happened to it. I think I need to just bring this one up a little bit more. But yours is going to look a little bit better. Now, the back, you know, is the back. It's going to look the way it looks, okay? So that we can't help. But I'm going to weave this end in, and I'm going to just do that really, really gently so that we don't make this end misshapen. See, I do it really gently and then give it a pull so that it doesn't pull it tight so that it can keep its shape. And really that was the slip knot from the beginning, so it's probably not going to come out anyway. So I just went through twice. I'm going to clip it. Normally I go through 3 times, but for this end I'm not. Okay, and I personally love the way this yarn will just naturally curl, kind of like the way toilet paper just naturally curls. So here's the thing. You want to find your center. You want to kind of hold this and just see where it just naturally falls. And then in the top of that is where you're going to want to put your chain. So I'm going to put this right here just to remind me that that's where it goes. And I am going to do a slip knot. And I think I'm going to chain 20. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And I just remembered that I did 25 on that other one. So 25 it is. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 25. All right, so look what I'm going to do. Okay, this is where I want it to go. Okay, so let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we have the sides. So I am going to, how am I going to do that? Let's see. How did I do that before? I went in and out, and then I connected it. Okay, we're going to do that differently. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to tie off. Okay, so we're tying off, and then what we're going to do, now I remember what I did. Okay, we're going to go in here. I told you I just, Wednesday I just did it. I just made it up, and I did it so fast I didn't even write it down. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to pull this through. This is exactly what I did. Okay, so you are going to chain 25 and you're going to tie off. So you have both ends tied off, okay? Then what you're going to do is take the ends and you are going to tie a knot just until it gets to the end of each of the chains, okay? So you're just going to tie a knot like that, okay? Just to the end of the chain, and then you're going to tie again. Nice and tight. Very good. And then you're going to do one more. Okay? Just for good measure. Okay. Now what you're going to do is spin this around until that goes in the center. And then you are going to take your hook this way and go up under and go in here where these originally pulled in, and you are going to wrap this around and pull it down into the work. Okay, good. And you are going to wiggle this back and forth. Let me see. We don't want that coming out. Okay. Now let's see. If we take this, okay, and we can coax these threads to go into the work, and just push these in. And if you have to go back up and pull it through again, then do that again, okay? And just until you get it in there. Okay, and then use the needle to go back and forth and to pull it in until you get it all pulled in. This is how I learned how to hide ends, and I learned this from Jada in Stitches, how to hide these ends. So it takes a little bit of practice. Don't get discouraged. It is doable. See, there it goes. It is doable, totally doable. Now we're all lumpy again, so we're just gonna like squish it around, and then we have this. I'm gonna go ahead and push this little thread down just so that I there we go. Okay, now that you've got this, it's time to write whatever you want on here. Or if you don't want to write 2020, which is up to you, you also have the choice of doing something a little more spectacular, such as on this nice large one that I made originally. You could draw a face on here, and you know, this little guy is super adorable and I love him. He's my shelf sitter, and he is just all crazy about 2020 as well. And I was thinking about writing 2020 on here now that I know how, you know, good I am at writing 2020. I'm not so sure, but I do think I am going to go ahead and do 2020 on here. But what do you think? What do you think? These are going to be the life of your Christmas party. When people start opening these, if you put them in their stocking, if you, you know, attach them to their gift, whatever you do, they're going to look at this and they're going to laugh and they're going to have fun with it and they're going to absolutely adore it, and they will always remember that these came from you. And I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of 2020. I hope that you enjoy these and think that they're adorable as I do. Everyone I've shown these to has laughed when I showed them to them, so I hope that you get as much enjoyment out of them as I do. And from Crochet Therapy to you, I hope that your 2020 is amazingly wonderful in the end. No pun intended. Oh, guys, I love you guys, and I hope that you have a great day. Stay safe, be kind, and get hookin', you little cheeky thing, you.